Let me pull this up some. Good morning, everybody. I just got on here to quickly say, we just had a conversation about ICE and the ICE agents and all that. Well, actually, I was really listening. And so I heard this girl say, black people better look out because Trump might try to bring back slavery. First of all, I know a lot of people, say this, but I know the person I am, I would have never made it on the boat. They probably would have either killed me or whatever. And then a lot of people say, well, when you saw them putting your parents and siblings on there, you would have went. I would have been like Celie in The Color Purple. Right. Because no, that didn't look good, And, I know that a lot of black people lost their minds when Kanye West said that slavery was a choice. But I ain't gonna even lie. When I watched Roots for the first time, when I was young and I watched Roots, and I saw the part where the guy, the master would come to the slave quarters, put the husband out while he had sexual relations with the wife. And I remember looking at my mama and I was like, why didn't they try to, fight him? She's like, you don't know how it was back then and that. And I you know what? I'd have been like, when he came to those slave quarters, I'd have been like, Leroy, when you outside, the shovel is to the right. And I'm going to give you a signal. I'm going to say, When I say, that means his pants is down, and come in here and kill him. And bury him. I don't understand that. If I was in the house and I had to cook for them while couldn't eat what they was eating, no, baby. Nobody had to survive off my cooking. Everybody would have been poisoned. I don't understand. Every time you see, unless this was just a figment, you would see one little crippled white man and his despondent, depressed wife who was so mad because he couldn't stay out the slave quarters with the women, and it was 150 to 200 of big, strong black men that had to plow the fields day and night, and y'all couldn't overtake them two. I mean, I don't get it. I know with my attitude that I will be dead, but I'm going to let y'all know, don't feed into that. Don't feed into that if people talking about that, because I don't know where this girl got that from, that they going to start back slavery and all that kind of stuff, but we too smart for that. They only beat black people with their minds. The people came over, they didn't know what was going on. They was not allowed to read. They didn't understand the language, and they didn't know what was going on. But at some point in time, after a while, you should scope out where you at, because we're smarter than that. So I don't know who started that or who's saying that or what made people think that they could even attempt to start slavery. It will be a complete war, because we're not going. Where you can't send us nowhere. You can't send us back to Africa. You can't do that. It might not be a bad idea, but that won't happen. But anyway, I was just like, I don't know if anybody had heard that, but I just want to tell all of my sisters and brothers, happy Black History Month. It's time for us, for real, to unite as a people. It's time out for us to stop going against one another. And then the ones that go against one another for other races. You know, you don't do that, you know, because they're not going to go against their people for you. Believe that. They're not going to do it. So it's time for us to like stick together. We should have been sticking together, you know. I don't, you know, I wouldn't, you know, I don't know what happened. And a lot of people get mad when I say this, but I don't know what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had going on, but I just don't, I never could, and maybe somebody could explain that to me, but I never could understand that no violence, you know, that didn't work, you know, that only created them to now, you know, get us, you know, if you fight them now, fight people, the white people back now, it only get us charged and going to jail and all of that kind of stuff. That's all that no violence did. Because if you know, why not? If I'm not hitting you, you should not be hitting me. You know, that's what that is. You know, you should not feel like you can hit me and get away with it. But when I hit you, I'm doing 30, 40 years. That's not cool. You know, the way they just do people, the way they do black people, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. The way they do black people is it haven't much changed. The only thing is that we, you know, now we're able to be, you know, working and doing our thing and owning our homes and doing all that. But the behavior hasn't changed. How they treat people hasn't changed. They just not, of course, they can't now be whooping us and hanging us. Well, they was hanging people up until 2022 in Mississippi. But they ain't going to do that, you know, up north and all of that kind of stuff. You know, they can't do that, you know. So that what they do is they try to get us with, and legally, they try to get us legally, which they change the legalities of things every time when it doesn't work in their favor. So I'm just saying, you know, as far as I can see, black people have always been divided, and it started with even when they was bringing, went to Africa, they used black people, told them they was gonna pay them to get other black people. And my favorite part was when the people that the black people men that they used to capture the other people was when they put the gun on them and told them, you coming too. That was my favorite part, because why would y'all even do that? You know, you have to learn who you are, who got your back, and who's in your corner. You know, and then they divided us during slavery with the people and the black people that was in the house and the black people that was in the field, you know, using the black people in the house to snitch on the black people in the field. That's how they won. That's how slavery went on for so long, because black people was not united. And that's a shame. You know, that's the only thing that make me ashamed, because I am happy who I am. You know, I know that God has blessed us, you know, to be who we are. And it was just because we don't necessarily do the right things in order for God's blessings to be upon us. You know, we know that the Bible says that Jesus his hair was like wool and his skin was like bronze. You know, wool, bronze, you know, so you know, he favors black people. I'm not saying that black people are the only people that he favors, but he favors black people, you know, as well. You know, we are his people. We are made in his image. So us not sticking together is kind of like weak. And we need to learn how to start doing that. We need to stop coming against one another, because we are not the enemy. We are not the enemy, but we need to stand up and loving your people does not, and loving you who you are and loving your people does not mean you hate other people. You just love your people and treat your people good, like everybody treat their own people, you know, like, I guess, you know, Spanish people are coming together during this ICE situation thingy, you know, white people gonna stick together, especially when it's against you. And, you know, and then they take us and then want to divide us to go against one another. You know, that shouldn't be, you know, that's not the way this works. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you and just to tell everybody happy Black History Month, and be accepting and love and embrace who God made you to be. And don't try to be nothing else but what he made you to be. All right, y'all. Have a blessed day. Bye.